Oh, hello there, yes. Widescreen. Yes. I'm actually only about 50 centimetres away from this machine, so yeah, there's lots of room one way or another. Still blurred background, but the focus, yes. Still in 4K, there's just so much more of me, which of course is very true now that I'm getting older. Naturally. Anyway, today we're still on the subject of education, naturally. Yesterday there was some people jumping up and down, inevitably, about VAT on schools and the appalling apocalypse that will, something else that's alliterative, that will befall state schools. And the Times had this: 10,000 fewer children in private schools ahead of Labour's VAT raid. Independent Schools Council figures show a 1.7% drop in pupil numbers. Yes, apparently some people have decided not to put their kids into private schools this year ahead of the expected rise. Well, it will be a rise, okay? In terms of melting down, of course, the Daily Telegraph went with this. Tory constituencies twice as likely to face school shortage places under Labour VAT raid. Yes, which is obviously, it's Camilla Turner, this one, so obviously it's dreadful. In particular, they picked up on Jeremy Hunt's Godalming seat. It's what is it, Southwest Surrey or whatever it is. Anyway, there, and apparently that's going to be dead bodies in the streets type thing. The report shows this area currently has 3,544 pupils in fee-paying schools and just 319 unfulfilled placed in state secondaries. Just one quarter transferring would result in a shortage of 581 places. Yes, wouldn't that be awful if a quarter of them did that? But of course, there's no evidence either in any of these newspaper pieces, or yes, indeed, I did look on the Independent Schools Council thing website, to suggest that a quarter of parents are going to do that, because, well, why would they? There has been an upsurge in people transferring in Year 7, because that kind of makes sense. That's when you can do it. But you're not going to take your kid out if they're in the last year of GCSEs or something like that. So I don't know where a quarter has come from. Well, we've just made it up because it might sound plausible. However, it doesn't factor in almost loads of different things that are, based in reality, like, demographic change. If you look at the birth rate, especially since 2010, effectively it's been declining by about 1% a year. So if these pupils do go into a slightly bigger school, the inevitable porter cabin, we lived with them forever, haven't we, since the 80s, basically, since the last time education funding was slashed. But we're not allowed to mention Mrs. Thatcher, or indeed the previous government, or indeed the last government, which was only a few months away, or months ago, but of course magically no longer exists in folk memory. Yeah, so porter cabins, they'll be there, maybe an extra porter cabin for a year or two, but the declining population will mean, in terms of the birth rate, will mean that there are fewer kids in the school anyway. And just maybe, people that are left-wing, you know what they're like, might actually suggest that having these extra parents in the schools might actually apply some more pressure in terms of getting some decent funding, because, of course, we do have schools that are literally falling down. I know that happened a lot under, Thatcher and Major, and it happened a lot, under the last umpteen prime ministers that we've had, but apparently that's just a coincidence that you get with Conservatives. I don't know, it's a bit like rainy weather in the winter. Yes! So why about all of this? Well, of course, it's just one of those things. Basically, in brutal terms, vast numbers of mainstream journalists like Camilla and Julia Hartley-Brewer and the rest of them send their children to private schools. So for them, it's an issue. It's a burning issue for them. And for the rest of us, it's just, yeah. So anyway, we will see. I'm willing to bet some hard currency, probably not euros, because, hey, I'm patriotic, that in none of this comes to pass. There might well be a squeeze somewhere. I'm sure they can find a school somewhere that's had to put a porter cabin up. But realistically, you look at the numbers, it's farcical nonsense. But hey, that's your legacy media for you. I'm sure your non-legacy media won't be banging on about it. I'm sure GB News won't. Yeah, all right, they probably will. Still, they send their kids there as well, because after all, you don't want them mixing with the working classes. They might become tainted. Do have a lovely, lovely rest of the weekend. Enjoy it before it rains again. Oh yeah.